I'm going to be presenting now on that clauses. Another word for this type of clause is called a noun clause. So before I start, I need to discuss what is a clause. Okay, clauses are like mini sentences. That's like they're sentences. They're ideas that are inside of sentences. Clauses have a subject and a predicate. That is, the predicate is the verb plus maybe an object. Okay, clauses are inside sentences. So a good example of a clause. Okay, they're inside sentences. I will talk a little bit more about this later. So a good example of a clause, as I mentioned already, has a subject, a verb, and an object. For example, dogs eat meat and bones. The subject is dogs, the verb is eat, and the object or objects are meat and bones. Okay. Um, this is a clause right here. It's a complete second idea, but as you can see, it doesn't have a period and it doesn't have a capital D because it's not a sentence, it's a clause. So, let's talk now about that clauses and their form. Um, Another name for that clause, as I mentioned already, is a noun clause, and noun clauses function like nouns in a sentence. They usually begin with the word that. So let's take this sentence right here. People know something. This sentence has two nouns, people and something. Okay. I can change this something, which is a noun, and I can change it for something else. I can change something and change it for something else. Instead of saying people know something, I can say people know that Earth is round. Now, this is a that clause right here. It has a noun, Earth, a verb, predicate is round. Okay. Um, Basically, if I tell you that I can replace something with that Earth is round, you can see how inside the sentence, um, this that clause functions like a noun. Okay. All right. The next thing I want to discuss is that clauses have a main clause. So here's my main clause. People know. And here's the that clause, the noun clause. That Earth is round. All right. Um, Furthermore, is that clauses are the objects of a main verb. So the main verb right here, people know. The main verb is know. Okay, the main clause is know, and it is this that clause, that Earth is round, is the object of know. Okay, if we go back to our original, people know something. Okay, something is the object of the verb know. And if I replace something with that Earth is round, you can see how that Earth is round is the object of the verb know. Okay. Also, that clauses have a subject and a verb. Again, talked about this already. The subject of that a clause has a subject and a predicate. Then here's a subject, Earth. The verb is. Okay. Um, some thing that we must discuss is that clauses usually come after main verbs, and these main verbs express mental activity. We talked about this already, but some of these verbs are assume, believe, discover, find out, forget, guess, hear, imagine, know, learn, notice, read, realize, recognize, see, think, and understand. There's two other classes. You have verbs that also express a desire for an event to occur, expect, hope, and wish. And we have also the weak control, such as give advice, recommend, suggest. I suggest that you study. I recommend that you study. We have the strong control. I demand that you study. I insist. I require that you study. These two happen to be with the giving a suggestion versus giving a command. Um, let's talk a little bit now about the agreement between that clauses and main clauses. There are about 8 rules dealing with this. I will go over them right now. The first thing that we need to do is we'll talk about present tense. We'll talk about when the main verb is in the present tense. Okay, So when the main verb is in the present tense, use a present tense verb in the that clause to express facts and general truths. General truths and facts are things that are unchangeable, things that are currently true. So, for example, people know, okay, that's a present tense verb, that earth is round, okay, it's a present tense verb. Currently, right now, currently in the present, people know, okay, that in the present, earth is round. It's a general truth, it's a fact. It's, we can also say it's an unchangeable truth, all right? Again, for present tense main verbs, use a past tense verb in the that clause for past events. So again, people know, it's a present tense verb. It's my mental activity. In the main clause, that dinosaurs lived. It's a past tense verb. Okay, what does this mean? It means that in the present, people know sometime in the past, dinosaurs lived. Okay, so here's my mental activity occurring in the present. People know. What is this knowledge? In the past, dinosaurs lived. Moving forward, still talking about present tense main verbs. When the main verb is in the present tense, use a future tense verb in the that clause for future events. So, for example, again, my mental activity in the main clause, people know, in the present tense, that NASA will go to the moon again. Okay, future tense, okay? We'll go. So what am I basically saying? That in the present, people know that sometime in the future, NASA will go to the moon. Okay? We're talking about knowledge of future events or thinking or some kind of mental activity in the present about a future event. All right. Now moving on to the past tense main verb. Okay, when the main verb is in the past tense, use a past tense main verb in the that clause for actions that occurred at that time. Okay, so for example, people noticed. Here's my mental activity. Mental activities in the past tense. It occurred in the past. People noticed that he swam fast, and this action also occurred in the past. Okay, he swam fast. What am I saying? That in the past, sometime in the past, people noticed the mental activity occurred in the past. And at the same time, this action, swam fast, occurred. I'm basically saying that people noticed that he swam fast. These two are occurring at the same time in the past. Next is another past tense main verb. Use a past tense verb in the that clause for facts that people believed at that time. Let's read this. People thought that Earth was flat. Okay, what am I saying here? My main clause, the main verb in the main clause in the past tense, occurring in the past. What is it? What is the that clause? Earth was flat. Okay, we no longer believe this, but we used to believe it. We had these ideas. So what am I saying here? Is that sometime in the past, people thought, okay, that Earth was flat. We know that that's not true anymore. People know that Earth is round, but in the past, people thought that Earth was flat. It's no longer true. We know that. Okay, now past tense main verb can also be used with the present tense verb in the that clause for facts that people believe now. Okay, so here we go. Was my past tense main verb discovered? Okay, people discovered. It's past tense. Okay, what is the that clause? That Earth is round. Okay, so here's a fact that we believe now, that we know now. Okay, it's a present tense fact. It's a general truth as well. So what am I basically saying? I'm basically saying that sometime in the past, people discovered. That means that this mental activity of discovering occurred in the past. People discovered what? That the fact, the general truth that Earth is round. Okay, the unchanging truth. Okay, that is true in the present. Okay, it's a fact that we discovered in the past. Here's my past tense main verb. Use a past perfect tense verb in the that clause for events that occurred before the main clause. Okay, so for example, in the main clause, after the test, the teacher noticed, okay, after the test, okay, but it occurs in the past, noticed, okay, mental activity occurring in the past, okay. What did we notice? That clause before the test, that Bob had studied, okay. Bob had studied before the test is a past tense verb, okay. That studied, this is not a past tense verb, this is a past perfect verb, okay, past perfect. Well, basically, we usually use the past perfect tense, had studied, had plus past participle, for events that occurred before another event. What am I basically saying here is that sometime in the past, the teacher noticed, okay, and that before she noticed, this event had occurred, that Bob had studied hard, all right? So that's what I'm basically saying here. The teacher noticed mental activity occurs in the past, but before this mental activity occurred, Bob had studied. The action occurred. Okay, an event that occurred before another event, and we use the past perfect tense for this. Okay, not the past tense. That's wrong. Sorry about that. Moving forward. Okay, then use the past tense main verb. Use would or was were going to for events that occurred after the main clause. So, for example, the child knew, okay, the child knew that sometime in the future he was going to go to the pool, okay. So, what does this mean? We have a past tense verb and we have was going to, would, was, were going to. This is a past progressive. What this is basically saying is that we had a mental activity, the child knew sometime in the past that sometime in the future he would go to the pool. But this is not before the present. This is not after the present. It's not far in the future. It's just that an activity that occurred in the past was the mental activity occurred before the actual action, which was going to occur after the main clause. Okay. There are about 8 rules for this, for that regulate the relationship in the tenses between the main verb and the that clause verb. They're all listed here for your benefit. If you have any thoughts or questions or concerns, please email me or ask me in class.